Hey everyone, just wanted to welcome everyone to Real Advice, podcast number I don't even know because I'm so excited to have today's guest, Mr. Chris Kwon from California on with us, who is going to share his journey, the highs, the lows in his real estate journey. I said journey again, but Chris is a top producing agent with Compass, top 1% in his marketplace, and is really known for not only 5-star level service that he services all of his clients, but his mastery in social media and digital marketing. More important than I think all of that, Chris, is the fact that you are just through and through a tremendously genuine, humble, and kick-ass family man. So hopefully I checked off all of the boxes because that's what I know about you. So Mr. Chris Kwon, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today and to really kind of share with everyone the ins and outs of how you became who you are in our industry. So thank you, Mr. Chris Kwon.
Wow, that was a great introduction. I got to carry you around with me when I go to presentations and higher presentations.
It's nice, right? It makes you feel good.
Really nice. I'm like, oh, wow. And then I got a Mr. Kwon.
Amazing. So, Chris, this is really a podcast to highlight the top 1% in our industry. And so what Katie and I set out to do is to change the public's perception of what a realtor, broker, who they are, because, we have this notoriety. We have this reputation of being sleazy, money hungry, quick deals in and out, but not really putting any thought or care into the business that we have aligned ourselves with. And so, Chris, you are known really as being a 5-star agent, a high touch agent, providing the best level of service from start to finish and the many years after. But let's go all the way back, Chris. Before real estate was even on your mind, what did you do or what did you want to do before real estate popped up for you?
I feel like we should have that video effect. No, back when I was a kid.
Oh no, we didn't mean that far back.
No. Yeah, I mean, where did I come from? I didn't have real estate in my radar at all. Real estate was just nothing. I didn't want. My parents were in real estate, and my parents were in real estate. I'm saying that again because that's not cool. Like if I become what my parents become, that's not cool, right? Or at least that's what I thought. And so like elementary, middle school, high school, I had other visions of things that I want to accomplish in my life. And a lot of that had to do with sports. So I was very athletic. I wanted to try a bunch of different things. I ended up pursuing golf. And did a lot of that, throughout basically my entire primary education, right? And so went to school for it, went to college and played NCAAs, Division I, Division II. And, that's what I wanted to become. And, after college, that's what I did. 5 years, I actually played professionally. And I tried. And it worked out really well because I'm a real estate agent now. And so it was hard. It was a really hard career because it was one of those things where you enjoy it. It was a game that all of a sudden became a profession. And, as soon as money became involved and there were sponsors and there was travel and all this other stuff, and I had to be conscious of all that, it didn't become very exciting for me anymore. And I'm actually glad that I didn't pursue that. Although I have a lot of friends that are still chasing it and still doing well with it right now. It just it worked out really well for me. So, and I'm stuck here now, selling real estate. So
what was it? Was it something in the journey of playing professional golf, apart from just it becoming almost like a profession for you? Like at what point, while you were doing golf and having your parents doing real estate, at what point did it kind of switch to be like, what, like there was a defining moment, or was it just kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of things that had real estate kind of all of a sudden be like, like the floodgates kind of opened up?
Right. So I would say I don't have one of those stories where, I was, had a problem right in life. Life was always fairly good for me. I've had struggles, don't get me wrong, but it was, for the most part, it's been pretty steady. And up until I, stopped playing golf, I always had like this self-confidence that I would just figure it out. Life, everything. And that was always on the back burner. Like figuring it out was like always the last thing I wanted to do. So I was a professional procrastinator. And I was really good
Prior
at
to golf, I was.
really, really good at that. I was a professional procrastinator, and I was so good at that. And it got to a point where everything stopped, and I was, I was going out. I had a girlfriend, and I had this big career of things that I want to accomplish in terms of sports. And one day it just wasn't working out. And my last year in golf was just very difficult. I was traveling to tournaments, preparing, working extra hard, missing cuts, making some cuts, and then all of a sudden you have to go and spend that money again, and then you have sponsors to deal with, and it was a lot of pressure. And I just said, I'm gonna hang it up. So I hung it up and couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And so in the meantime, I got like a part-time job, working at a restaurant. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this for like a month or two. That turned into like a year. And my wife was like, okay, you can't be doing this. Or like my girlfriend, who's my wife now, she's like, you can't be doing this for the rest of your life. And I was like, I know, I'll figure it out. And, and then she was like, look, I was just like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what direction. I didn't really study at school. I mean, I got a fine arts degree and a graphic design degree, but I didn't really want to do arts or graphic design or design or anything like that. And she was just like, why don't you just go get your real estate license? Because that's what your parents are doing. And I was like, I was so lost that I was like, okay, I'm going to go get my real estate license. And I got my books the next day, and I got my license a few months later, and I was on my journey. So it was just one of those points in my life where I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I came to the realization that I didn't figure it out, or I hadn't figured it out.
Yeah.
Everybody gets there at one point.
At any point, like growing up, like playing golf professionally, like were your parents ever like the typical like overbearing Asian parents to be like, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this? Did they ever impart any of that on you?
Yeah, I mean they did, but I wasn't I always thought I was a really good kid until
And now you have kids.
Until I see my son and I go, wow, that looks really familiar. And I'm like, that was me like 35 years ago. Like, holy crap, I was a terrible kid. And so like my mom tells me all the time, she's like, you weren't a very good child. And I was like, no, I was a really good kid. But now that I'm a parent and I see all this stuff and I see the similarities, I'm like, oh, I was a really, really.
I can't imagine you saying that about your kids because they're just the cutest, and I could never imagine them being bad.
Fun. Don't get me wrong; they're a lot of fun, but they're challenging. Oh my gosh!
How old are your kids again, Chris? Because I know that you have two.
My son's almost 3,
wow.
And my daughter, she's 5. She
wow.
just turned 5. Yeah.
What a fun age. Mine's Jordan, she's 8, and my little guy Noah is 5. So it's you learn a lot of it.
Starts coming in quick after they pop up. Like,
or you just don't have any, man.
Dude, look at your hair.
Oh my gosh, I have like, oh my gosh, it's terrible.
So, Chris, kind of segueing back to real estate, what would you say was something that we all talk about how we want to fail forward, we want to fail fast. What's something that like was a mistake that you made that like you I don't want to say that you still think about to this day, but was like a lesson that you learned early on in your career that kind of shaped where you are today?
Yeah, if I were to go back in time, I would have really paid attention in school.
Wouldn't we all?
If I'm talking about just my real estate career, I wouldn't change a thing. I really wouldn't. I think it worked out as well as it could. And I'm sure like there's some things maybe I could have changed that could have been better, but it really worked out really well. And I still struggle with a lot of things now. And, I have to kind of like recenter myself and put breakers on. So, I think everybody goes through that, but that's just kind of a learning lesson. But, even like in terms of production now, I always like, 9 years ago, if I was to ever think I'd be where I'm at right now, that would sound very exciting to me. But now that I'm here now, there's not that much. I still have bigger goals, and I'm like happy, but I'm not satisfied. Mm-hmm. And I always feel like I'm unsatisfied with where I'm at. And I think that kind of helps propel me to keep going and work harder and figure things out a little bit better. So
I think that's the entrepreneurial spirit for a lot of real estate agents and brokers is, never being satisfied, you hit your goal this year, but then you have, far-reaching goals the year after. So I think it's kind of the entrepreneurial DNA in you.
Well, that exercise that Tom always has us do at every event. It's like, okay, picture like here's like all of the things in your world, right? Like you're prospecting, you're marketing, and then you give it a number, and the numbers never change for me. It's exactly the same. I go back and I'm like, oh, that was a 5 years ago, and it's still a 5, right? So I don't know what's changing. I'm like, well, am I ever going to get to a 10? I don't know if I'll ever get to a 10.
So at the next event, I'll have to sit next to you and add a couple zeros or
Yeah.
a 1 or something.
No, it's always going to be like 5. And don't get me wrong, we work on all that stuff, but I just don't feel like it ever gets to a 10 or something. I don't know.
Chris, I want to ask you this question. What do you think is the biggest pain point in your business right now? And this is going to be, I think, incredibly impactful because you've been in the industry 9 years. For someone who's just getting their license, today's day one for them. For you to kind of share with them, like what is that pain point? And it may have changed from year one to where you are now, but identify what that pain point might be for you currently in this market or in year 9 of real estate.
So I think it's changed over time.
Okay.
In the very beginning, it was money. I didn't have any money, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, oh, I need to get some money because I have a girlfriend that wants to get married, and she's not going to be my girlfriend for much longer if I don't get Let's go find some money. Let's go make some money, and let's build that confidence, right? Because I think everybody was worried about me except for me. And then now it's time. It's time. Like I don't care about the money anymore. And I don't know when I stopped caring about the money. Like for me, like I don't need a lot of money, but I find that to define being rich is not being able to go, or not when you go out shopping or going somewhere, not looking at the price tag. Like I feel like that is being rich, right? And so I don't know when that actually happened, but obviously you're not making dumb decisions. You're not going to go spend like $100 on a candy bar, but
what kind of candy bar is it though?
I know it depends. Gold candy bar, but you're still making conscious decisions. But I think when you get to a point, even like if you wanted to buy like a house or a car, and you're like, oh, that's I'm gonna buy it. Now, I feel like that's being rich, right? And I think I stunt my growth a little bit because of that, because I need to start thinking about like college tuition. As soon as I started thinking about the future, I was like, holy shit, I'm not rich at all.
I need to make more money.
Right? Yeah. So, like, oh, I got to pay tuition. I got to pay for this. I got to pay for that. Life insurance. Like, I'm like, okay, I need to start working some more. So you figure it out and you're like, okay, I have a lot more to do. But I would say now it's time for sure. 100%. It's because I just don't have a lot of it. And, I see, like I saw my dad yesterday for the first time in a month, and I haven't seen him in a while, like physically, and just because he's going through some health stuff, and our kids just went back to school, so there's some concern there. And he was telling me about a story that one of his best friends just passed away. Like he just went to sleep and didn't wake up. And a lot of those things I'm always thinking about, like when Gary Vee talks about, like I hear him talk about this the very first time, and I was like, oh wow, this is so relatable, because he thinks about like what happens if all of his family died, and like he talks about that like in some of his podcasts, and I kind of think the same way too. Like I wake up and I'm fearful of like, okay, well, what if this happens, or what if my kids get so old and I forget to spend the time with them, or what if my parents go away and I don't get to spend the time with them, and so now it's 100% time.
Wow, that totally resonated with me, because being the child of immigrant parents, they came and they worked like 16, 18-hour days. The only day off, they ran their own business. The only day they had off was Christmas. But it was really, the moment that I had Jordan, my first child, my dad kind of pulled me aside in the hospital hall, and he would just apologize. He's like, my biggest regret in life was not spending enough time with you and your brother. And he said this to me, and it still sticks to me. It still resonated with me. And that's essentially why I left teaching after almost 2 decades, is my dad says, time is the currency of love. Like you'll always be able to do whatever you need to do to move your family forward, to buy them whatever they need. Because like at the end of the day, it's the time. People don't always need things, but it's the time that you need to spend. And so as my kids were getting a little bit older, like, they were always like, I couldn't go on any field trips with them. I couldn't even walk my daughter to school because I was a teacher. I had to rush to school. And that was really the decision for me to be like, you know what, I'm out of teaching because I need to find something that I love doing, but affords me the flexibility to always be there, be present for my kids. So that resonated huge with me, Chris. So thank you so much for sharing that. Can I ask, what would be your advice? So money now and time specifically, but day one, I just got my license, brand new newbie agent. What's the one piece of advice you would give to that agent who's just started in the industry?
Yeah, I would say you're already behind. The reason why is because, again, the reason why I wouldn't want to change my career is because I made the right choices without knowing them. Like, I was like, red, cool, red, right? Like, that's how it worked out in my life, right? I just ended up hitting the right decisions, but without knowing. And, one of the first things that I did was, I joined a team. But I joined the team before I got licensed, and I understood contracts. I was already immersed with like the real estate market, and I wasn't going on presentations or anything like that, but I was definitely involved with like role play. I was surrounded by a real estate environment. People were printing out contracts. I was printing them out, and then figuring out how to fill them out and stuff. So I had a really nice head start, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so like anybody who's looking to get really involved in their real estate career, they should be interning or, at least surrounding themselves with individuals who have the knowledge to give you the, what you need to, and when you get started. So just like a coming soon, right? The whole idea of a coming soon is to get like steam, right? So that when you hit the market, you're off and running. So it's the same thing.
So how long? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So with that being said, I guess if you were giving advice to someone that's been in the business for a while, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, don't ever get complacent. Yeah, because I was that young person looking around, and I remember telling myself, I remember looking around the office and going, why don't these people door knock? Like everybody's in their chair and just making phone calls, and not even like, I was like, I just went door knocking and I just got like 3 leads, and at that point in time, my business was generating from door knocking, and I was like, it's great exercise. You get sun and vitamin D. You get to meet people, and honestly, you learn a lot when you door knock because you understand communities, different terrains, and you look at houses and all that stuff. So I learned a lot from that. But I remember looking around, going, wow, these people, like I have so much of an edge on these people because I'm hungry. I'm willing to do the work. And now I look back and I go, well, I'm at that place where a lot of those agents used to be, right? When I first started, and I'm trying to come up with better and creative ways to make my life easier. It may not be door knocking, but it could be something else. So never getting complacent and never thinking that you're the, the shiz,
you can say shit.
You're not. Okay, cool. This is not a PG-13. Yeah, but not thinking you're the shit, because you're not. And I constantly get reminded of that because I meet people and I'm like, wow, you're the shit. I thought I was cool, but no, you're really cool. And I meet a lot of those people. So
yeah, and I think that's the humility component that a lot of people lack in our industry, is to be able to identify that, right? And once you can identify that, I think it still leaves the door open for learning. And I think that's huge, no matter how old you are, is to continue that learning process. So I want to get a little tactical here. The Chris Kwon, I want to know, and I know a lot of people want to know, what are the lead pillars that you actively work on right now in your business?
Yeah. So it's changed over time. Right? It's totally changed. And now majority of my business comes from other agents.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, majority of that. And I would say a very close behind that is going to be my local farm. And so those are my two major pillars. And, after that, it's all referrals, right? So referrals beyond the agent-to-agent referrals. So like, past clients, friends and family. And I do things very, very different in terms of all that. When I got into the business, I was absolutely scared to ask any of my friends or family to work with me. And that's the first thing that people say. They're like, tell everybody that you're in real estate, ask them to do business, ask to work with them. But I was coming from a place where I didn't want to screw up any relationships, and I cared more about the relationships than fueling my business. Wow. So I never asked anybody to work with me. I just told them that I did real estate. That's all that I did. Like, so on social media, I posted, like, I remember posting when I got my my license, or when I passed my test and all that stuff. And for the longest time, several years, until this day, I don't ask people to work with me in my sphere. I don't. And I think what that's done over time is that people have just recognized me as the real estate agent. I was Chris, the real golfer, to Chris, the real estate agent, and people come to me, and I like it. I like it better that way. I like it better that way, because I want people to, I guess when they come to me, I feel like I've earned their respect to earn their business.
Right? No, you're a master of your craft, right? So if I wanted to let's just kind of peel it back a little bit. So people from your sphere have, they know, they know and like you, but right. To go from Chris the golfer to Chris the realtor, they got to trust that.
Sure. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Is there one thing that that you're doing on a consistent basis that has kind of triggered that to go from Chris the golfer to now Chris the trusted realtor?
So it takes time.
Okay.
Just like anything, but I wanted to be really good at my craft before I gave myself out to those type of people, right? So I wanted them to understand that not only was I in the business, but I was really good at what I did. And at that point, then they would trust me to work with them. And I went about it that way, not knowingly that I wanted to do it that way, but it's worked out for me. So even to this day, I just don't. I mean, people ask me all the time, like, "Hey, how's the real estate market?" and blah blah blah. And I just don't. I don't say, "Hey, well, let's," I don't go in the traditional dialogue and say, "Hey, what can we do to try and get their business," right? I have them go, "Hey, I would love to have you to work with me. What do we need to do?" And I'll go in that way. So I don't poach my friends. Not saying that anybody else does that. I know, like, for all of you watching, it's like totally fine. It just doesn't. I'm different. That's all.
No, Chris, you're known in the industry. Like, you're a heavyweight in the industry with regards to the innovation, the direction of your social media content, your videos in particular. It's a question I know you get asked probably all of the time. Where do you get the inspiration? Even more important than that, where do you get to come up with the creativity for just your trailblazing video concepts and ideas? Because I know you have an arts background, but this is a little bit different. This is real estate and creativity. And sometimes that's like oil and water. Like, where do you get that inspiration and creativity?
I don't know.
Like, it's just in my brain.
This is what I love of it. You're like,
I don't know. I can't conceptually figure out what. Yeah, no, I don't drink. I don't take drugs, so it's definitely not that.
Like, do you watch other people? Like, I don't know. Do you go for a walk and then all of a sudden it just hits you? Like, where's this inspiration and creativity coming from?
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta spark somewhere, right? So it's got to come from a place. So an idea just doesn't pop up out of my head. Sometimes it does, but oftentimes I'll see something, which then goes, "Wow, that would be really cool if I did it like this instead of that." And then I start thinking about it, and all of a sudden I'm down this wormhole, and I come up with this original idea, which is not really original. It came from somewhere. So what I would say is it was just being mindful of what's out there and seeing what other possibilities there are and outside of real estate. I looked at a lot of other stuff outside of real estate. I really actually find real estate marketing kind of bland, and
yep,
it is. And for the longest time, it was, right. And even to this day, to a certain point, there's certain templates of the way that you do things, and I hate that. I just every like my friend says right now, he's like, everybody does this, right? And then I tend to go the opposite way. I'm the exact same way. Like I see everybody doing this and I'm like, let's go over here and try this, right? Because I just gravitate to the opposite of what most people move toward. And I don't know if that helps anybody. They're probably like, this guy's nuts. But no, I mean, it comes from ideas. Like I have in my phone, I have a notes, and I have like all of these notes of ideas that I wanted to write down. And I'm like, oh, that would be really cool if I did this and did that. I put it on the back burner and maybe think about it later. Oftentimes when I'm making an edit, I'll come up with the ideas based off of the variables that I have, right? This video or that or this. And I'm like, oh, this would be really cool if I put this transition in there, or if I added this text, or I changed the edit like this. And I enjoy that process in itself. I really enjoy. So a lot of the videos that I make, there are some storyboards with it, but I like really creating stuff when I'm at the computer and just really going, okay, let's try this instead of that.
You had one listing video which just completely blew me away. It was, I can't remember who it was, but it was all kind of automation. It was the computer, and you were moving things around.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Showing kind of like different views of the house. I thought that to be just game changing. Can I ask, where did the inspiration come from that one in particular? Because that one was just nothing has even come close to that I've ever seen.
I saw it somewhere, and I was like, how did they do that? And I went down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out how they did that. And there was nothing that showed me. There was no tutorial. I mean, there's stuff on it now, but at the time there wasn't anything. And I just figured out, okay, I can do this based off of this technique, and I understand how to do this and do that. And I just kind of figured it out. But I saw it from somewhere. I saw it from like some video or some movie or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. I want to be able to do that as well. So those techniques, I mean, you learn over time. But, again, that was an idea that I got from somewhere else, and then I applied to my real estate career. So
do you see yourself as a realtor in this kind of, in 2021, or do you see yourself as like a digital marketing company?
I honestly look at myself as just a regular guy who just makes videos and sell houses.
You make it sound so easy.
No, that's how I look at myself, right? And I think, I want to do things my way. I just want to do things my way sometimes. And it may not be like what most people love or hate, but it's just like, hey, I enjoy doing this, and I've seen some benefits from it. So, there's a lot of people that ask me about, hey, what about this? What about that? And I'm happy to share all that stuff. But I just kind of create stuff that I like, because I feel like that, translates into how I am as a person. And they say that all the time, right? They try to be authentic and try to be yourself. And I just made the selfish decision that I was just going to put out whatever I wanted to put out, in some context, right? You don't want to be sending out like raunchy stuff or, things that are offensive. But, I just kind of put out stuff that I really enjoyed.
Awesome.
I think that shows through though in the work as well, because like all of your, even property videos are just always so unique. And obviously you share, videos of family vacations and things like that as well. So it's like, it's really cool to see that and like to know you through that. Right. And I think the creativity and that you really enjoy it, I feel like that shows through,
Yeah.
Thanks. I gotta say the family vacations are the ones that I'm really excited about, because, I look at all my family vacations and I have a history of them, right? I have a vault of videos from our vacations, and I look back and I go, wow. And I feel like my memory, I feel like it has so much stuff in there. And that's why I have short-term memories, because there's too much stuff backlogged in there. And I can't recall anything that happened. Like, I'm like, what did I do an hour ago? But the videos help jog all those memories again. And that's what I probably really amped about.
I also like just have to laugh at like, these are the videos that you're putting out, like documenting your family vacations. And you look back to like when we were kids and our parents had like the huge camcorder that like half of the video was actually just them recording their feet, so it's just funny, how the quality has improved over, a generation. So
Chris, share with us where is Chris Kwon going to be in 10 years time? So today, March 3rd, 2021. Where are you going to be in 10 years?
Where am I going to be in 10 years? Yeah, that's a really good question. That's I actually probably don't want to be in real estate.
Wow.
I had this vision of creating, and this was a recent vision. It was to create a very large scale team, and they're the first to hear it. Large scale team, and slowly step away from it, but have it run, right. And I want to be able to do other things in my life, whatever that might be, but other things. But I want to be doing something with video. I feel like I'm so engulfed with real estate right now that it's hard to creatively work on the videos that I want to create. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, 10 years from now, but definitely 5 years, I'm going to be in real estate.
Okay.
6 years in real estate. 7, I think that's the one I'm going to be, exiting out of. But, definitely I'm going to be going hard. I'm going to try and go as hard as I can for at least 9 years. 9 years and 10 months.
So those numbers are going to change. When Tom does that exercise, your numbers are 100% going to change when you're kind of mapping everything out.
We'll see.
Amazing. Last question we want to ask is, can you highlight the most impactful real estate sale? So whether it was the biggest listing that you had or the one that was the most challenging, can you vividly remember what that kind of quintessential real estate transaction was for you?
No hesitation.
Everyone has it. And can you just share with everyone?
It's the highest sale that I had, but it was the longest that I've ever worked on a listing. And we went into a listing presentation. It was me and my partner at the time. And we went in with Sharon. So if you guys know Sharon, he came with us to this listing presentation. And we sat down. It was a very large house, very like 10 acres. And we sat down. We were being interviewed against the top real estate agents or the team that in that community. And so we interviewed with it, and we ended up leaving the presentation. Sharon and my partner didn't say a damn thing the whole time. It was just me. I was so nervous. I was literally as I was talking to them, I was shaking like this, and you couldn't see it because it was under the table. They didn't say anything.
The table was shaking, but
and you can ask Sharon. I was like, "You guys didn't say anything. Why did you guys even come?" And Sharon's like, "Oh no, you knocked it out of the park. It was fine." And I remember him saying, "Look, it's not a matter if they give you this opportunity, but if you take this opportunity, this is going to kill you." And it was one of those houses. It was the house was original condition. It was in good shape, but it was in original condition. It was so dated, and it was such a large house. And what we ended up doing is remodeling the entire place. It was the main house was 7,500 square feet, and the guest house was 2,600 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it took us about 9 months to remodel. And the entire time the owner wasn't there. It was just me. I was a project manager working with my contractor. We had a designer. We basically picked out everything in the house, and we put it on the market. It was on and off the market, and it expired. He re-signed. It expired. He re-signed, and he just trusted me. And I ended up, double ending the deal last year, and it was my biggest sale ever, and I double ended it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. And it was Michael Chang's house.
The tennis player?
Yeah.
No way. That's crazy.
Yeah. So the Michael Jordan of Asian people, right? If you're watching this now and you are anything but Asian, you will need to understand that Michael Jordan, Michael Chang is the Michael Jordan for Asian people in the 1990s. You do not understand. He was small little dude. He was so fast. He was
man.
And everybody on Saturday, Sunday afternoon was eating their ramen in front of the TV watching him play. He was amazing. And to have that opportunity, I never thought I would ever meet him, but I ended up selling his house, worked very closely with him. And at the end of it, he was like, "I'm so glad that you represented the buyers because you totally deserved it." And that was probably the proudest sale that I had.
Wow, that is incredible.
That is so cool.
That's so great. I just totally relived my childhood right now when you gave the Michael Chang. I remember just, gearing up, and that's all I wanted to be, playing tennis with my buddies. I was Michael Chang. Didn't matter. I was Michael Chang. So thanks for that nugget. That's amazing.
That was great. That was a great experience. It was and it took us probably close to like 2 years.
Wow.
2 years,
Wow,
but it was totally worth it.
tremendous. That's crazy. That's insane. Well, Katie, we'll have you wrap up because we've used enough of Chris's time on this day.
We have. Chris, I really appreciate it. I do have one other question.
Oh.
If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I totally forgot.
One item or one like style of food?
Take it how you want.
Oh, it would definitely be Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
That's one of the Korean barbecue. Nice.
So with that being said, at the next point that we're all in Anaheim, we need to eat some Korean barbecue.
Yeah, we did it. We did it last time with a bunch of folks, and it was a good time. But yeah, we should definitely do that.
I'm gonna dig in. Hold on, I want to piggyback onto that because I'm a huge foodie. Now, where is this iconic Chris Kwon Korean barbecue joint?
Oh, there's a ton of them. There's not just one. There's a ton of places. Yeah.
Is there one that's a favorite for you? Like the one that you're just like, you know what? Like, it's so consistent. It's so good all the time. This is the one.
No.
Okay.
It's just more of the
all of the above.
Yeah. There's some places that aren't like the best.
Yeah.
And sometimes when it comes to like Asian food, a C is like the really good place, right? Like a C grade, like it's like ooh, really good. You don't want to know what's in the back.
You don't even ask though.
But it comes out and you're like, okay, that was amazing. It's not the best food, but sometimes it's like the one that hits the spot. And that's the really good stuff.
Cool.
Amazing.
Well, Chris, we truly appreciate your time and all that you do for the industry, and that you're always so giving and willing to help. I love that we were able to take the time today to chat, and appreciate you. And
thank you guys.
Can't wait to see you again in person soon.
I haven't seen you guys in forever. So.
Love it. Love it.
All right. Cool, man. Well, until next time.
Till next time, Anaheim.
Peace, everyone.